Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Hope you're having a great Friday. Hope you're looking forward to an excellent weekend. Looking forward to talking to you today about you and your business. One of my favorite organizations out there is the think tank, the Heritage Foundation out of Washington, D.C. It's done a great job now for well over 40 years of helping people understand a better way of doing public policy. We've got our first guest is Dr. David Muhlhausen, and he is a data analyst there, a data analyst research fellow, talking about government waste, ineffective social programs you pay for. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Kevin. I'm glad to be on board today.
Yeah. So let's talk real quickly. You mentioned there are 10 top examples of wasteful federal spending in 2012. Why don't we just jump in and look at some of those?
Well, the first, one of the biggest programs is Head Start.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1960s, Great Society program that the left loves to say helps kids, and it's undergone a gold standard, highly scientific experimental evaluation, and it found out that the program has basically no effect on helping kids who are disadvantaged.
Mm-hmm. And that's incredible when you think about it, because it's a large amount of money that's gone through it, billions over the years, and you're saying there's not much to show for it.
No, it's not much to show for it, and the president, he wants more spent on it.
Yeah, and I wonder what. Let's get into that later, because there is a larger theme as to all of this. I think a lot of Ludwig von Mises' book Bureaucracy explains a lot of the reason why this stuff continues, regardless of whether or not it's effective or not. But there's a lot of factors, and we'll get into that. There's a culture issue and those type of things. What else? What is another good example?
Well, another good example are the federal government operates numerous job training programs. These are supposed to help people who are out of work or want to get ahead in life, and it offers numerous services. And every few years, Congress says it fixes federal job training programs, reauthorizes and reforms them, say they're going to become effective. And every time these programs get evaluated for whether or not they work, whether or not do they increase the wages of participants, they find that these programs have largely no effect at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We're spending tens of billions of dollars on these programs every year.
Right. And so when you say there's no effect at all, I guess, for intellectual honesty, what do you mean?
Well, I guess what you could say is when I looked at all of the randomized experiments, and these are like where the individual wins a lottery to get to participate in the program, and then another individual doesn't win the lottery, and he's in what's called the control group. And so these individuals are like in every other way except one received the federal training and the other one didn't. And so when you compare these people, thousands of these people together, they find that the individuals who didn't receive the job training do just as well on a whole host of outcome measures as individuals who did receive job training.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So little to show for it. And, that's very depressing. Number 3, give us another one.
Well, we also have a program called Upward Bound. Now, this program has a noble cause. It's trying to help disadvantaged minority youth go to college and try to spark their interest. And what they found out is that basically it serves minority youth who are already likely to go to college in the first place, and so it has no effect. It has no effect on getting kids to actually attend college in the first place. These kids are supposed to be disadvantaged, but actually the program has grown, and it serves middle-class kids whose parents can already afford to send these kids to college.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then what else do you got for us?
Well, I guess the only silver lining in all of my research, and it's in my book called Do Federal Social Programs Work, is welfare to work. Basically, that is the only social program that has been rigorously evaluated that has a positive impact on raising the wages and employment outcomes of individuals participating in it. And
is that similar to basically workfare?
Yes.
Where people essentially don't get a welfare check unless they work?
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and the reason why those do work is because you're often doing work that they would believe is worth more than the pay that you're getting, and so they have every impetus to improve their lot by looking for better jobs as their skills get improved.
Definitely.
Is that would you say that pretty much sums that up?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. That's pretty depressing. So how much money are we talking about when you look at all these 10 different examples?
Well, actually, it's what we're looking at is if you look at all federal social programs, we spend over $443 billion a year on these programs, and there's very little evidence that they work, and there's a whole lot of evidence that they don't work.
Close to $500 billion a year.
Yes.
And so your thoughts as to why this takes place. There's obviously a bunch of reasons that immediately come to my mind, but how does this continue to happen in spite of all of the evidence that it doesn't work? Obviously, the number one reason why it keeps on happening is because they're using other people's money. And
exactly.
And what's sad about it is they're using the money of people that aren't even not even born yet, and therefore those people can't vote against these kind of policies. They're wedging this generation against future generations in order to buy votes today.
Yeah, well, it's also a problem of government programs exist whether or not they work or not. If these were private sector programs, they would be out of business because nobody would pay money to participate in the programs.
Yeah. Well, what was it Reagan that said there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And so the proof continues. We know from the book Bureaucracy that government operates on a spending motive, that there's power derived from government spending, and that if you cut spending, you're cutting power, which undermines the objective of a bureaucrat. So you got that taking place. You've got the whole culture of spending. You've got the whole justification process. Politicians going back home who've got to say they're doing something, even if they can't quantify whether or not it's making a difference. These are all factors as well.
Yes.
So it's a pretty sleazy proposition. So what kind of things should they be looking at as alternatives? Obviously, this validates the concerns of the founders that the best government is the government closest to individuals. I guess it makes a great case that the government should get out of these businesses on a federal level and see what the states and local levels could come up with that are smarter.
Well, I think it's definitely the case because what happens is that federal programs that operate from Washington, D.C., don't tend to work well. And I think it would be better if the federal government got out of funding programs that has no ability, no ground-level ability to implement them, and just let the states and local governments handle it. And what will happen is that you'll find out some things work and some things fail, but the whole country won't be locked into failing programs.
Yeah,
like we
that's
are
right.
Now.
That's right. And boy, we wish we would have studied a little more of that before we got into Obamacare. Because every state that's done it has had ruinous results. Some states have to end their social welfare. I mean, their what you call socialized medicine in 6 months, like Hawaii did, before they faced complete financial ruin. Dr. David Muhlhausen, he is with the Heritage Foundation, one of the country's premier conservative think tanks. You can learn more about them at heritage.org. David, thanks for being with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, when we come back, we're going to have more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here also shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter.